Welcome back to another video installment of ECIO. This video talks to using an ECIO backend database for the management of records, process asset, library artifacts, and any of your project, program, portfolio documentation. The value proposition is that most projects and organizations need a process asset library for tracking and recording of artifacts. Within ECIO, we've developed a library system, simplistic, to track both internal project artifacts as well as any supplementary information. You can generate a backend for each of the systems, your organizations, or your projects, or you consolidate and share these backend databases. If you don't have a SharePoint, you can generate that locally and capture this within each of your projects or organizations. And you know how to relink. I think most of those things have been explained a little bit more in most of the other applications. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll go through a basic profile. This is one you can search, and we'll show you some of the artifacts that we have in this particular database, backend database. So this was a book that we have within it to explain a little bit about what information is being captured here. We obviously have the artifact name, the corporation. You can put in the authors, publishers, etc. on that side of it. I think some of the items of note here: document numbers, versions. There's some categories, ISBN. We'll show you that one. Stale date helps out on records management. It helps on Sarbanes-Oxley to make sure that your processes, your standards, procedures, guidelines, work instructions, etc. are being reviewed on a regular basis. If there happens to be work in progress or a policy that comes out, version, what the in-service last in-service date was. In most cases, if there's an ISBN, if you click on the shopping cart, and if you have your local library set up, you can go and send it to your local library. So this one here actually goes into Amazon and finds the book for you if you want to look at it and read more information on what that particular book is saying. There's a couple of things. We'll show you a couple of things. So if you click on the file location, if it happens to be there, it'll bring up go into your library. If you have it stored elsewhere, it'll find that library and kind of bring it up if you want to do traceability on it. Document taxonomies, for those that are using document taxonomies, you can use them for, there's a method within ECIO to kind of develop your own taxonomies. So it may be tied to your security, presentations, etc. on that side of it. That's a good way to kind of start elaborating on it. The framework ID, as we've talked about, you may have ITIL. It may be this documentation is tied to some particular standards that you may have either in-house or maybe more industry-based, ITIL, PMI, Prince, some of the other, your BA-BOK. There's a number of frameworks out there, CMM requirements. If there's any of these that are tied to, and you've recorded your frameworks, then you can tie in any of those artifacts if they're tied to that. The instrument is just one of the points here. We have the artifact, which is actually the material you're going through. The instrument is basically if it's really kind of your document type definition, the framework. If there's something that is established as a standard within it, let's say a charter, this would refer to the actual charter. Perhaps that might be tied to a project. And it follows a type of standard and derivation of it. So things that you can collect on the artifacts is, various narratives, the table of contents, etc., classifications and codes. There's attributes like within it. So that's some of the information that's tracked, and that just comes with a back end that comes with your standard front end for ECIO. As we know, there is, if you have tree views within it, so if you have your artifacts and there's linkages between it, just to give you a little example, most of our entities all have tree views in it, so you can interrelate parents and like within it. So in this case, if we have a number of disaster recovery plans, what are incumbent upon each of the disaster recovery plans, so you can kind of drill down, drill up in each of those, and then go and look at it, and you can see the traceability within that. And then as you know, most of our entities all have kind of mini menus, allow you to quickly pull up, let's say if there was some other artifacts you wanted to look at. But some of the things that we can do is relate to an artifact. Is if there's action items that are pending for, it could be if you looked at the action items, there's dates and ECDs and next review dates that are all tied to that, so you can and assignments, resource assignments, so you can always look at your resource and find out, okay, what artifacts and what actions I need to do. The approvals and distribution lists associated with any of your artifacts, what those were. If there's change controls, there could be configuration items that are buried within the artifacts, so you can identify those. If the artifacts are related to any deliverables or status meetings, they're either perhaps inputs or outputs or being modified in any of your meetings, etc. That's what you can do. If there's an evaluation, you can track that. If it's tied to any goals, corporate goals or organizational goals or individual goals, you can tie it into that. We mentioned about instruments, so there's a linking in between what artifact may be linked to several types of different documents, etc., and related to it. Knowledge base, we always talked about if it's related to any portfolios, projects. If it's related to other artifacts, we can tie to that, and then some of the other entities. Within ECIO, it may be related to, you can tie those things into it. So that gives you traceability. So if you go into the entity and you want to find out about the artifact, you can do that, or you have an artifact that's related up to it. So that helps out if somebody's generating, saying, I've got this artifact that's related to this, and then somebody else, maybe not knowing about it, can go into that particular whatever entity it is, organization, resource, strategic buckets, intentions, and from there find out, okay, these are the artifacts that I can look at either as an input document within that one. And then your RACI diagram with your artifacts, who's the accountability, resourcing, your standard RACI types of information that you can kind of go through and tie into that. And then we have a couple of things forthcoming. Some of the things on metrics and functions that may be organizational functions that this may be related to on that side of it. Getting into a little bit more detail on that side. On that. To give you an example of, we'll bring up a profile. There's, you know that we can go into the print and do a search on artifacts, but these are some of the reports that we can pull out from an artifact on it specifically. So we'll just go into the records retention schedule, table of concordance, if there's the CMDB programs or catalogs within a tracking approval workflow. But we'll go into just a little bit of the profile on it, just to give you some example of it. Now these artifacts, this is not all the list of it. This is artifacts when you come in here is related to your organization, so it'll only show you those things that you're entitled to look at. So we'll go into the balance scorecard, the one we were just looking at, and okay, so what this one does is it has approvals. We don't have it all completed into it. Version control on it, if there's related, if any of the functions, action items, or anything else was related, we could pull those up. Those would show up, the version control. The other thing that's quite nice is if it has, it'll code the barcode for the name, and then as well as if there is a physical file location, it'll show you that as well. And that is it for a little bit on how you can do records and some library management functions with ECIO. Hope this was of some interest. If there's any questions, please feel free to give us a call or shoot us an email at support@ECIO eciosolutions.com, or visit our website, www.eciosolutions.com, and we'll be pleased to address them. Thank you very much.